of the Knitten Purl Podcast. My name is Ivy. I am a knitter and crocheter based in Vancouver, Canada, where I live with my three cats. This right here is Scout. I don't know how much of him you can see in the viewfinder there in frame, but he is very poofy and is very sleepy. Um, and yeah, welcome back to my knitting podcast. It's been a few weeks since my last podcast. As expected, I don't think it got a ton of viewers, but that's okay. Not that I want to be self-deprecating about it. But yeah, I mean, I'm really ultimately doing this for myself, and I really wanted to film an episode because I have a finished object to show, which I am really excited about, and one whip and one yarn acquisition, even though I said that I would be very good. And then I just wanted to talk about some life stuff, but I think I'll leave that to the end in case anybody isn't that interested. My other cat is doing something in the background, so if you apologize if you hear any clawing, but there is they are very active right now, which should be an interesting podcast. What I'm wearing. Okay, so the reason why, so I am wearing the Eden crop top by Crochet with Carrie, and this is actually a crocheted crochet top that I made last November, just a few months ago, and I've only crocheted a few garments, and this kind of was one of the last things I crocheted before I transitioned over to knitting. It doesn't fit very well, but the pattern is really easy to follow. It's actually a free pattern, and I highly recommend it. It doesn't have a ton of sizes and not a ton of shapings, so the issue with this is that it is a little big around the cup area. I probably could have also shortened the strap. This is one of the first garments that I ever made, so yeah, I didn't really think through anything to do with shaping actually. So yeah, if I shorten the straps by about an inch, it might fit a lot better. But the other issue is, I don't know if you can see this, there is kind of like a gapping around the breast area. So this is actually pretty much the first and only time that I'll be wearing this, because I'm actually going to be unraveling it for one of the whips to follow. Oh yeah, and the yarn. The yarn for this is acrylic. It is Rico Baby in the classic DK, and it is 50% acrylic and 50% polyamide. I actually really like this yarn. It's very soft, and I think it's really great for gift knitting, especially for somebody who has babies, or things like that, because it's machine washable, and I can't really tell you how it wears, because after I made this, I pretty much folded it away because it was November and didn't really think about it, and then put it on recently and realized that the fit is really bad. And in fact, I am going to be covering up quite a bit for the rest of the episode, because this top has a tendency to, like, for lack of a better word, it could fall right out of it. And yeah, that's not really something I want to do and not notice. Um, but yeah, and that's probably why I won't be wearing it out very much, because I can definitely see a scenario where I do fall out and I don't notice. And it's a little bit tight in the, like, underbreast torso area. So it's kind of like too big in the chest area and then maybe a little bit too tight in the other area. So yeah, it's not that comfortable or that safe to wear. But yeah, this was one of the last objects I crocheted. I got really into crochet in 2021. I think I started on December 31st, 2020, and I crocheted during New Year's Eve, and spent a lot of 2021 learning and making lots of objects, most of which I've actually given away by now, so there's not a ton left. And then After this, I realized that it might be better to try knitting again and see if the garments could be shaped better. And generally, yeah, they can. And I bet, honestly, I think crochet garments can be shaped a lot better, but it was also really hard on my wrists. So I wanted to give those a break by knitting, and I really haven't looked back since. So yeah, that's what I am wearing. And I guess we can talk about my finished object next, which I'm really excited by. Okay. Oh God. All right. So this is my finished object. This is the Ursina sweater by Jacqueline's Cieslak, and it is knit in the Wool and the Gang Shiny Happy Cotton. I've got an extra ball of it right here. This is the, in case you need to see it, I don't know if I'm covering this. Uh, it is in the Eagle Gray colorway, and there's 100 grams in this ball, and it comes out to 155 yards or 142 meters. It is 100% cotton, and the yarn itself, it's very interesting. I was just cutting out all the ends right before this podcast. And yeah, it's about an Aran weight, I would say. And what's really interesting about this yarn is that it's got a bunch of different plies. I think there's 24 actually. I don't know if you can see this. I'm just trying to spread out the different plies, which gives it really it's like a bounciness to it, but also kind of makes it hard to knit with because it's pretty common for my knitting needle to slip and snag one of these little threads. And since I'm a perfectionist, I kind of want to tink back and get that right, or drop the stitch and ladder down and pick it up right. I definitely didn't catch myself every single time I've done that. So there are lots of places in the sweater where there's a little bit of a snag. But yeah, this yarn was actually gifted to me for my birthday by some lovely coworkers, and I'm so excited that I finally found the right pattern. I actually got a kit from Wool and the Gang, but the construction of that sweater was knit flat and then seamed, and just didn't have it in me to do stockinette stitch flat for every single piece. So like knitting in the front and purling in the back, and at the same time also didn't think that my seaming skills would be up to par. So I really wanted to pick a seamless construction. And yeah, I'm really happy I picked this. I think the way I found this pattern was browsing through Ravelry and noticed that a suggested pattern for the yarn was actually the Ursa sweater, which is the same garment, like with the same detailing, but knit out of a bulky weight. But this Ursina, the pattern actually comes with two different gauges. It comes with sport weight and worsted, and I followed the directions for worsted. It's a beautiful sweater. It is not quite dry from blocking. It's damp. It's dry enough for horseshoes. Let's just call it that. It's not like sopping wet, so I feel like you can still see the drape of it. But yeah, it's not wet. I'll say that. But it is a beautiful pattern. It's a top-down raglan construction, and it's got this really beautiful half brioche like raglan seams, half brioche detailing on the front. I'm not sure if you can see that because I know the yarn is a dark color, and I am aware that this could very well end up me being like, look here, look at all this texture on this completely black sweater that you can't see anything of. And there's a half brioche triangle on the front and detailing on the back, and half brioche on the sides. Yeah, and it's gorgeous. Like I can't wait for this to dry so I actually put it on. And yeah, what else do I want to say about this? Oh yeah, so the pattern itself has two gauges. It has sport weight and worsted weight, and I follow the directions for worsted. Um, and I mentioned this in the last podcast, but I could not get gauge for the life of me. I think the gauge in the pattern is, I'm gonna say like maybe like 22 stitches or maybe 16 stitches. No, it was 16 stitches. And I got 19. And I'm really, and I used, I think a 4.5, and I didn't want to make the fabric any looser than it is, because I really liked this density. In fact, it could have even been a little bit denser. And I know that cotton yarn doesn't have a lot of elasticity, and I was worried that the garment would stretch out over time. So I really didn't want a looser fabric than this. Um, and I was trying to figure out what size I should knit if I liked this fabric and didn't want to change my needle size, and I was just going to have to go with the gauge that I got. But I'm really bad at certain types of like math or logic. I don't know if any of you have the same thing where some things are just really difficult to understand, even though they should be really simple. So something for me is greater than or less than, like the signs, the symbols. I've had them explained to me multiple different ways, and I do understand that the crocodile eats the bigger number. But I get that, and then I look at the number. Usually, it's just like one number, and then I just throw in a random sign, and it's wrong. But I was having the same kind of trouble with this gauge, so I was like, okay, I have more stitches than the gauge in the pattern says I should have, which means that the sweater I knit will be smaller if I than the recommended size. Um, and that means I should knit a bigger size. I think that's where I ended up. Um, but then I think I ended up knitting a size two, which is probably the size I should have knit with the recommended ease, and my chest measurement, my best measurement is 33.5 inches. Um, because I think I looked at size three and was like, I don't want to knit that many stitches. So I was just like, I'll just knit a size two and wing it. And which is really bad because if you think about how long this sweater took, it took me about 3 or 4 weeks to knit. It's a pretty big commitment to knit the wrong size, and not do like a little bit more work to understand what the right size to knit is. But yeah, I honestly, it was arrogance. It was complete arrogance. And I did expect that I would be smited for my hubris, but it worked out. The sweater fits. So I have learned no lessons. I am, in fact, more arrogant than before. And at this point, yeah, I might as well just be playing God because I can do no wrong. No, I'm joking. Actually, I think it's because Jacqueline Cieslak does a really good job in the pattern, giving notes of how to try it on as you go. And I figured because it is a top-down sweater that I would have the opportunity to try it on. And to be honest, like, yeah, it does fit. I have to wait till it dries before I really try it on. I think the V would have been a little bit deeper if I had knit the size three, but I think I'm comfortable with where it is. And yeah, she does a really good job in the pattern of uh, deciding, like, ask giving you the directions so that you know how long to knit the sweater, because to understand how to account for this detailing at the bottom. So other thoughts about this. I have lots of thoughts about this. I love it. I think it is so fun to knit. I chose this pattern, like I said, because I was just browsing patterns suggested for this yarn and kind of just didn't even look at it that closely. Was like, all right, this looks like a pretty lightweight sweater, and it's got a nice V-neck. It's a raglan. Like, that sounds right up my alley. Bought the pattern, and wasn't until I opened it and was actually even finished gauge swatching and was starting to read the instructions that I realized that the seams were half brioche. I just completely missed that part. And honestly, I'm happy I didn't know beforehand, because if I had known beforehand, I probably would not have picked this pattern. I am a beginner knitter, and this is my first time doing brioche of any kind. And I honestly would have, like, if I hadn't known, it probably would have taken me many more months to even try to attempt it, because I do not understand or get what it is. But because it was in this pattern, I was like, you know what, let's just give it a shot. How hard can it be? And she's got great videos to explain, and it was really easy. Half brioche is, yeah, yarn overs, and uh, that's pretty much it. And yeah, it was really easy and really fun. So now I'm considering maybe I should knit a brioche sweater. Because yeah, it was really fun to do. And yeah, I mean, I this is probably a simple version to do it, but I think that's the great thing about knitting, because it's just like, you know, you can, the techniques themselves are not that hard, and YouTube is so great now with so many different tutorials. Like, there's more than one explanation even for how to do something, and you can just find the style that works for you. And as long as you're following the pattern, like, step by step, um, it's really only one step at a time. So you're only, you're just trying something new with every single step. And yeah, so it was great, because I really felt like I leveled up in making this sweater. And this was also the first sweater I made where I didn't have to rip out significant portions of it, and restart, or there's not like a significant mistake in it that I can see. So I'm proud of that too, that I managed to just, get this done without having to, say, rip out the whole yoke and start again, like my nurtured sweater. Um, and what else can I say? Oh yeah, pattern is super size inclusive. There are optional bust darts, which I didn't do, because, so you can now see from the fact that my chest may or may not be on display. I don't have a really large bust. Oh, and also, the reason why there's like uh, cuts, I don't know if you can see that on my chest, is because I have a kitten that loves to sit on my shoulder, and I also have frail shoulders. So occasionally she falls and scratches me, or as she's climbing up and down, she nicks me. But yeah, it's just our playtime. I'll insert a picture um, of us hanging out, Harper. But yeah, Jacqueline also does this really cool thing where, because it's got so many different sizes and so many two different gauges, there are two versions of pattern, like a printer-friendly version and the full pattern. And for the printer-friendly version, it's, you just like kind of fill in the number from the table. And yeah, I can't believe this sweater worked out. And I can't believe it fit, honestly, because it was, I didn't realize this, but I think raglan sweaters, you go by rows. So my gauge was totally off. I still followed the pattern pretty much to a T. I think I knit one more round of increases, but I didn't have to, because it would have fit around my bicep. I just don't really love the feel of like a super constricting sweater. And I think in terms of the length, I knit a number of rows that is between the cropped and the full length. But I actually want to measure the size of this, because I'm not sure, like, the actual length of this, and I'll measure it for the video when I upload it, because I'm not sure what that actually translates to in the schematic, since my gauge is just some made up number. Yeah, so I really credit that to my amazing ability. I'm just joking. But also, yeah, just the strength of the pattern itself. And this is the first um, pattern that I knit where I can totally see myself knitting another one, maybe in the sport weight. Yeah, I do have a lot of hobby cakes that I bought last year when I was really into crochet, and they have color changes, and that I think is a sport weight. So yeah, a lighter version of the sweater would actually be really cute. Um, and I think that's all I want to say. Oh, one last thing. The yarn is incredibly soft. I don't know why it's called shiny because it's not shiny, it's quite matte. Um, it's very soft. I think it'll be very comfortable. However, it does attract cat hair uh, like a magnet. I don't know if you've noticed, but I've just been picking cat hair off of this thing the entire time that I've been talking, and it is just covered in cat hair. Some fabrics, I think if you're a pet owner, you'll realize that like some fabrics just attract fur more than others, and this is one of them. So it is bittersweet because I would be saying something like, "Oh my gosh, I wear this sweater like every single day," but I think I'm gonna have to make a hard decision. Like, is this gonna be a home sweater, in which case I wear it around the house and I try not to notice how much cat fur gets in it, or is this like an outside sweater, which means I can't wear it around the house. It's the last thing I put on before I leave, and then I lint brush it heavily. And ideally, I lint brush myself vigorously when I arrive at my destination too. And that's just the life I have to live. But yeah, they're worth it, aren't you, Scout Boo? He's just completely pancaked out. Oh, so this is the Ursina. I am a fan, and that is my one finished object. Um, You know what? I will say, uh, I'm actually really proud of myself. And that's not something that I like to say very often. I have an imposter syndrome and I am generally very hard on myself. And yeah, generally, I know it sounds awful to say, but definitely don't give myself as many compliments as I probably should. And yeah, but I'm proud of myself because I got back into knitting um, in December of last year, like I said, 2021. And I mean, prior to that, I had learned to knit when I was in elementary school. I learned how to knit and purl, and that's pretty much it. And I've had experience like knitting either like long blankets in garter or a scarf in garter or just like strips in garter. And I didn't have a lot of, we didn't have a lot of money growing up. So it was really just like whatever yarn someone had gifted me, and so I would just knit things and then unpick them and then knit them again. And I didn't know or have access to like the internet or anything back then. So yeah, I didn't even know about stockinette stitch. I just thought that you could knit the whole time or you could purl the whole time. But yeah, I got back into it in December and I didn't make any goals for myself um, for 2022 because I didn't know how much I would like it. And I just yeah, I didn't think that I would be able to get very far. So what happened was um, I knit a cowl in December. Oh, hi, darling. Would you like to sit here? Harper's here. I don't know if you can see her. Yeah. Okay. Goodbye. Are you looking into the camera? Is this your time to shine? Would you like to sit in my lap? Oh, good girl. Yeah. Lovely. Oh, I love you too. Um, so happy now. Yeah, so I knit a cowl in December and a couple of hats, both of all of which were gifts. So yeah, I even learned to cable in the hats. Um, and then was like, yeah, I really like knitting. Like I should do more of it next year because I at that point just really gotten into crafting. I was crocheting quite a bit. I'm the kind of person who just needs to be doing something with my hands. When I'm sitting on the couch or anything. Otherwise, I get really easily distracted. And I thought it was, just, yeah, it was really the things that I was making, even the cabled hats, they were really simple. I thought it was just really beautiful the way that, you can weave a few stitches around it and come up with a cable. And I didn't make any goals for myself. I just thought, it'd be really cool to maybe knit a sweater next year. And now it's not even the end of May and I've knit three. So I'm really proud of myself for that. I didn't think that I would even knit one, to be honest. And now I'm three and I just did half brioche. Yeah, uh, it's really nice to be learning something new, and it's hard, but you can just rip it out, or frog it, and it's just yarn again, and you can try again. And yeah, not everything's turned out great, like the framework bralette in the last episode. The I the straps look pretty janky. But for the most part, it works out, and you end up with a garment, and you kind of, or I guess, I end up with a garment, and I get to feel like I'm learning new skills, and feel like I'm really working my brain. Yeah, and it's really fun. That's what I love about knitting, and I get to do with a little kitty on my lap. So that's my aside to talk about what a great person I am, and apparently I don't have to look at any gauges on any patterns, which leads me to my next pattern. Uh, my one whip. Oh, herp. Okay. Um, this is a gift knit. This is the Dahlia Solo Mini, by, I think it's pronounced Lene Home Shemshel. Shoot, I just looked up how to pronounce it prior to this video. Shimsha? I'll put the spelling of it on screen. And this is a gift knit for one of my best friend's daughter. She is 4, and it will be a top down circular yoke sweater. It'll be short sleeved, and I'm just trying to figure out the best way to show this. Yeah, it'll have a button. Oof, there's so much yarn, so many ends. It'll have a button at the back, and you can button it up. And it's got a really beautiful kind of leaf motif, in lace knitting at the yoke. And I believe it's called the Dahlia Solo, because I believe Lene of Linets, her regular Dahlia for an adult size is this same motif, but it's a few different rows. So in these triangles, I think, oops, I don't know where I'm showing this. In these triangles, there'll be other leaves going down, and yeah, and I think the effect of that looks more like a dahlia flower, which has yeah, the leaves, sorry, the petals spiking out. Why did I drop this on the ground after all this work? I'm awful at this. Okay, I'm sorry, darling. I know. Why would I do that? Yeah, I know. Oh, thank you for purring, though. I love you. Um, so yeah, definitely this pattern is just one row of leaves. So I think I've got one row left of the chart, and then I'm done, and it's just the shaping and the rest of the sweater. And I don't believe there are any more charted pieces to this pattern. And yeah, I'm really liking it so far. This is also my first time knitting a lace pattern. My One of my best friends, she lives in the States, and but she grew up in Vancouver with me. We went to the same high school together, and she hasn't been able to come back to Vancouver and visit family for the last couple of years because of COVID. And she's coming back to visit in July, and I want to gift her children a couple of things. So my plan is to make this pullover for her daughter, and she has a new baby, and I want to make him, I think, the flax sweater by Tin Can Knits, the famous one. And he will be, I mean, I think he's 8 months old now, or will be 8 months when she comes to visit, but it's not really sweater weather in July. So I will knit the size for the 1 year old and hope that he fits into it when the weather turns colder and it's actually sweater weather. But yeah, this is my first time knitting a lace pattern, and I again chose this pattern because I was browsing on Ravelry. I knew the yarn I wanted to use because I know that her daughter loves pink, and I actually only had, this is my only pink in my stash right now. I had a lot more acrylic, but I actually sold a lot of it or gave a lot of it away because I'm going to be moving in a few months. And so I knew that I only had this DK yarn. It's a DK weight, and uh, was browsing patterns based on that. Saw the motif and thought it was super cute because I wanted to knit a sweater, not a cardigan, because I didn't want to have to figure out buttons for it. Just because I had a feeling it was going to be down to the wire, which I don't know if it will be or not. She's coming in July. I think it'll be okay. But if it was down to the wire, I also didn't want to have to figure out buttons doing that. So yeah, I bought the pattern and then opened it and was again thinking, oh my God, I think I'm in way over my head because the pattern itself, I don't know if I would call it a beginner lace pattern. After all, I am a beginner lace knitter. I'm a beginner, and this is my first lace knit. And I got through it. But I don't think it would be super beginner friendly because it doesn't really hold your hand. I feel like the most beginner friendly lace pattern would have a chart and maybe also the written instructions. This one only has a chart, and the pattern itself is really simplistic. It's easy to understand. But it's just like, yeah, you knit back and forth and then you just follow the chart until, you know, okay, bye Harper. Um, you just follow the chart until this row when the chart is done, and then yeah, the instructions are after that. The motif itself is reasonably straightforward. I think it's, yarn overs, knits, purls, yeah, decreases and increases. It's probably not the simplest. I'm guessing the simplest would just be yarn overs and like eyelets and so on. But it was really daunting to look at, but like with everything knitting, it was, if I just took it one step at a time, it was easy to figure out. And honestly, I think the hardest row for me was that the first setup row, because what's really great about this, and I don't know if this is true with all lace patterns, or just a few of them, is that the motif is it's pretty logical. So, and the chart is drawn so that um, it shows like the motif even in the chart. Like I don't want to give too much away, obviously, but the every row that I did, it was pretty easy to see, you know, where I was going wrong or where I wasn't going wrong because I could reference the row that I knit before that. Um, and so yeah, once I did the first row, it was pretty easy to keep on track and not make too many mistakes. I did make some mistakes, and yeah, you can like figure out a decrease or ladder down or something like that. So I think in that sense, it's not a very complex lace pattern, and it is very beautiful, very, very striking, the little leaves, and I think will be super cute on a 4-year-old. And it's first knit back and forth and then you join. And I think that is kind of where I had trouble with it. The chart itself is not fully symmetrical. And I actually assumed that the parts where you knit back and forth, like you read right to left on the first row, and then on the next row, you read left to right. But kind of realized halfway through that I think it's always right to left, which I don't know if it's like that with every lace pattern again. And yeah, it kind of messed me up for the directions of some of the decreases at first, but yeah, I figured it out. And like I said, it's really logical. So once I was like, wait, that doesn't look right. I think the decrease should go the other way. It was really easy to figure that out. And like I said, I just have one more row of the chart to knit, and then it's really straightforward from there. And I'm really excited. They say that baby knits or like children's knits knit up really fast because they're, a lot smaller. And I think that's true. I really found lace really addictive to knit because it made me feel like I just wanted to do like one more row of the chart, and you could see like the picture emerge, and I just thought that was so cool. But this is also the first garment I'm knitting on 3.5 millimeter needles, and because of that, I feel like it's not that much quicker than any other sweater because, yeah, it's actually like smaller needles than I'm used to, but a lot fewer stitches. And this yarn again is the Rico Baby DK, classic DK, and which brings me back to my Eden top, which I think I am spilling out of. Oh my gosh, so awkward. I'm not going to show it again. And why I'm going to be unraveling it, because I only have 150 grams of this yarn, and about 100 grams of it, about 93 grams or so, are in this crop top. So when I get to the end of this donut, I will be unraveling it to reuse the yarn to knit this gift knit. And honestly, I don't feel that bad about it. I mean, this crop top only took me about a week to knit, and as you can hopefully see, but not in a scandalized way, it doesn't fit very well. And I'd much rather have it repurposed and, you know, have a much better use for it, hopefully, or someone who would appreciate it more, hopefully. But I do wish I was getting more yarn out of my stash. So in the end, I'm really only getting like one donut of yarn out of my stash, and hopefully a ball of yarn for the flax sweater, because I would like to knit down my stash. So yeah, I wanted to wear this crop top and photograph it before I have to unravel it, and which, will be pretty soon, hopefully. And that's it. And I have an acquisition. Oh, I have to grab it. Hang on. It's a good thing Harper left. But Harper didn't go far. Her and Scout are just. I know. And I'm using my phone right now to film. I can't take a picture of you, but I will take a picture later. They are side by side and cuddled up, and it's very cute. It's very adorable. Yeah, my two boy cats don't love to cuddle with each other, but they both love to cuddle with Harper. So it's more like who she's in the mood to cuddle with, to be completely honest. She runs the entire household. But yeah, I'm back. Okay. So I said I wouldn't buy more yarn, and I really shouldn't have. But my acquisition is some alpaca yarn from Sandus Garn. The reason why I bought it was I actually bought, I think, 6 balls of this a couple months ago. I have a gift card for a local yarn store that I got for my birthday, and finally visited, and just thought, since I'm all the way out here, I should get some yarn, and bought, 6 balls of this colorway. I don't really think they name their colorways, but it is 100% alpaca, and it's like this dark heather gray. It's DK, and didn't have a use for it, and then was browsing patterns as one does, and saw the No Frills cardigan by Petite Knit. Was like, oh my gosh, this is the perfect use for this yarn, and did the math, realized I didn't have enough, but wanted to get more of it soon because I wanted to make sure I had the same dye lot. So I thought I had needed one more skein of it. So I emailed the local yarn store owner. She's like, oh, I do have another skein, which was great. Then I did the math again and realized I needed 6 more skeins, I think. So yeah, I have now like 12 skeins of this, which part of me is like, is that math right? Like a pound of yarn and DK weight for a cardigan. I know petite knit cardigans have a lot of positive ease, but I feel like I might have done the math wrong somewhere. But it was a gift card, so I have like, yeah, a buttload of this yarn, which I'm not that angry about because it's beautiful. And if I have too much for the cardigan, then I can make something else because it's so soft. And I'm really looking forward to casting on that cardigan. Once I finish my baby knits, it is the next thing that's going to be on needles. Um, because I have been knitting a few more summer tops and tank tops, and I do really love those, but I don't have a lot of cardigans to wear with them. And I think that's really what I need in my wardrobe right now. Like, this is the only kind of cardigan that I have, which is why I've been wearing it in both episodes. And it's not, I just need something else, because it's great, but like, yeah, I would like to have more than one item. And I'm not a big fan of buttoned things in general. So the No Frills cardigan doesn't have any buttons, and it's just kind of like an oversized flowing cardigan with pockets. The one drawback of this is that it does not have pockets. And yeah, I really can't wait because this is like one of the first times that I'm actually going to be knitting something to fill a hole in my wardrobe. I'm not a really big knitwear person, so even though I've been doing a lot of selfish knitting and knitting garments and stuff, it's not like I'm not a big sweater person, not a wearing person. A lot of the time they end up with a lot of cat hair in them, and um, so it's not like I'm finding these patterns and thinking, oh my God, I have to have this in my wardrobe, because it's really not that. I'm not super drawn to sweaters in general. So this is the first time where I actually saw an item, a pattern, was like, oh, I want to have this. I want to knit it and have it so that I can wear it lots, which would be really exciting. And this yarn is so soft, so I'm excited for that as well. And that is it. That's all the knitting stuff. So if you want to go, if you manage to stick around this long, I won't keep you. But yeah, I've got some life stuff I want to talk about. Primarily, that you probably noticed that this is a different background than before. It's actually just a different view of my apartment. But this artwork is completely new and it's not mine. I'm in the middle of trying to sell this apartment, and it's one of the reasons why I'll be moving. And yeah, it's been really a learning experience getting an apartment staged, because that's what this is. This is staged artwork. And it was really stressful. Everyone always says, selling an apartment is stressful. And you don't get me wrong, like, I'm extremely lucky to be in a position to do that, to have a place that I'm secure enough in and to sell it. And even though it's a interesting time right now with, I don't know, about the interest rates in Canada, I think generally speaking, the Vancouver housing market has been on the rise. So yeah, again, I'm super lucky in that way as well, to have had a home this whole time, that I really love. Honestly, I really love this apartment. And yeah, and part of me is really, really sad to sell it. But yeah, it's a lot of work. They always say it's a lot of work selling a place or getting it ready to be sold, but it is ton of work, in terms of cleaning, packing. In order to stage an apartment, you really have to have like nothing in it, nothing on the counters, nothing in your closet except on the floor of your closet except shoes, and the closet can't be full. Um, and yeah, like a lot of the furniture I sold or donated, just a lot of like extraneous stuff I sold or donated. I got the walls painted because there were things on the walls that left holes, and I had to take my TV down to storage because it was too big, and now there's a fake TV on the wall. And yeah, it was a lot of work, like physically, and mentally. And yeah, the poor cats had to deal with a lot of people walking in and out. And hopefully, the next time I podcast, I'll have some good news about how it's going. Um, so I had to shave the couch because the cats have been at the couch quite a bit, and I had to actually like take an eyebrow razor and shave all the loose threads off. And yeah, fake art on the walls. It's really kind of weird living in an apartment where a lot of the items aren't mine. I had to put a lot of the staging accessories away because the cats would get after them. Um, but yeah, definitely really bittersweet um, to think about selling this place and moving on from it, because I've lived here for about 4 years and I've loved the majority of the time and the vast majority of the time. Yeah, it's a really great location and really great size. And it's a heck of a lot of work getting it ready, especially when, it's just you're by yourself. Though I do want to again thank all my friends and my family who helped me out, because, yeah, no person is an island, and I'm by myself. I didn't do it all by myself. I had really great friends and family, have really great friends and family. And even the cats helped out mostly by being a nuisance. And that's the other reason why I wanted to do another podcast, because I want to, show off my sweater. I'm so proud of it, but also just do a few more in this space before I have to leave. And yeah, take advantage of the time that I have while I'm here. So, I don't know if I'll have a finished object in a couple weeks, but it would be nice to film again just so that I have more footage here. Um, but that is everything I wanted to talk about. I mean, if you've made it this far, thank you. I'd love if you gave me a comment and let me know that you watched it, or what you liked and what you didn't like, or even like the video. If you want to subscribe, that's great. Um, but that is it. I hope that you have a really nice day. I hope that you are able to find joy. And yeah, I hope to see you again soon. Bye.
Atticus, what are you doing? Just rummaging in the drawer? What are you rummaging for? Huh? Did you lose your Rolodex? I love you.